Hi, I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to my channel, A Few True Things, where we explore life's biggest questions at the intersection of science, philosophy, and faith. Today, we're going to look at Stephen Hawking, not just his physics, but the worldview behind his ideas. In other words, his implied view of metaphysics. Then we'll step back and briefly summarize the state of the field, the pros and cons of philosophical naturalism, and the idea that nature is all there is. So let's get started. As we reach the 15-year anniversary of the publication of Stephen Hawking's The Grand Design, here's my copy right here, his bold metaphysical insights still provoke deep questions about the nature of reality. Stephen Hawking was one of the most brilliant scientific minds of our time, but he wasn't just a physicist. In his later writings, he made some bold claims about the nature of reality itself. He once wrote, "Because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing." Now, that's not just science, that's philosophy. Specifically, it reflects a worldview called philosophical naturalism, the belief that everything that exists is physical and nothing lies beyond the natural order. So what is philosophical naturalism? And why do people find it so compelling? And where might it run into trouble? Okay, first, what do we mean by philosophical naturalism? Well, it's more than just doing science. Scientists, whether they're atheists or Christians, use what's called methodological naturalism. That simply means when you're doing science, you only look for natural causes because that's what you can test. But philosophical naturalism goes further. It says nature is all there is. Everything reduces to matter and energy. Every event has a physical cause, and that science is the best, maybe even the only path to real knowledge. So this isn't just a scientific method, it's a complete worldview. Now, why do people like Hawking lean in this direction? Well, there are some real strengths. First, it's simple. No gods, no souls, no spirits, just matter and energy following natural laws. Second, it lines up with science. Every time we've expanded our knowledge from astronomy to biology to neuroscience, we've done it without appealing to the supernatural. And third, it avoids mystery. If you only accept natural causes, then you don't have to appeal to anything beyond investigation. So, for many thinkers, naturalism feels elegant, satisfying, even complete. Sounds good, doesn't it? So what's not to like? So here's the problem. Critics argue that naturalism has blind spots. It struggles to explain some of the biggest features of reality. Now, just imagine for a moment this tiny sphere represents the entire universe at the moment of the Big Bang, compressed into a size smaller than an atom. Hawking argued that gravity allows the universe to create itself. But here's the question. Laws of physics describe how things behave once they exist, but they don't cause existence itself. So why did this entire universe here just pop into existence at all? And from absolutely nothing, no matter, energy, space, no time. And if nothing existed before the Big Bang, that implies that natural laws like gravity also had a beginning. Now let's think about the universe's incredible precision. At the Big Bang, all the constants of physics, the strength of gravity, the mass of particles, the expansion rate of the universe were packed into this tiny sphere in exactly the right way. And somehow they still work as the universe expanded to the roughly 93 billion light years across as it appears today. All those constants continued to work perfectly, allowing stars, planets, and life to form. Naturalists might say, well, maybe there's a multiverse, a number, perhaps an infinite number of other universes, and we just got lucky to be in the right one. But even a multiverse would itself require fine-tuning, and it isn't something we can test. This tiny sphere here helps us visualize that delicate balance, the incredible precision that allowed our current universe to be packed into a sphere this small and then emerge as it did. And then there's the deepest question. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does the universe exist at all? Third, consciousness. If your mind is nothing but the brain, why do you have inner experience? That first-person point of view, the feeling of being you, seems to go beyond neurons and chemistry. Philosopher Thomas Nagel famously asked in what is arguably one of the most important and influential philosophical works of the 20th century, got my copy right here, what is it like to be a bat? It's available on the internet in PDF form, and I'd strongly encourage you to read it. So what an interesting question he posed. Think about it for a moment. If you were a bat and not a human, what would it feel like to be you? That question captures the problem. Subjective experience, or qualia, doesn't reduce easily to physics. Even with all of our scientific knowledge about the brain, the what it feels like aspect of consciousness remains mysterious. You have no idea what it feels like to be me right now, and I have no idea what it feels like to be you. And that's a problem naturalism struggles to fully explain. Fourth, let's think about morality. If humans are just clever animals shaped by evolution, then what we call right and wrong might simply be strategies for survival or cooperation. But that doesn't really match our experience because moral values feel binding, as if they exist beyond convenience. Picture a balance scale. On one side, imagine a small wrong, like running a stop sign when no one is around. Now, on the other side, imagine a horrific act, like torturing a child for fun. The difference isn't just about social usefulness. The second act feels objectively and absolutely wrong, no matter what anyone thinks. Philosopher William Lane Craig points out that if morality were only the product of evolution and social convention, we would have no basis for saying one act is truly better or worse than another. At most, we would be describing what helps survival. Yet we all recognize that some things, slavery, genocide, cruelty, are not just socially inconvenient, but genuinely evil. That sense of objective moral truth suggests morality is more than just a survival instinct, that it requires a grounding beyond matter and energy, perhaps pointing to a moral law and a moral lawgiver. And fifth, reason itself. If all our thoughts are just the product of chemistry going on in our brain, shaped by evolution, then even our belief in naturalism is just neurons firing. Alvin Plantinga explores in this book where the conflict really lies: science, religion, and naturalism. that if both naturalism and evolution are true, the probability that our cognitive faculties are reliable is low. Evolution selects for survival and reproduction, not truth. So our brains could easily produce beliefs that help us survive, but aren't necessarily accurate. That means we have a problem. If our cognitive faculties aren't reliable, we have no reason to trust that any of our beliefs, including the belief in naturalism itself, is right. It's a self-defeating problem. The very worldview that relies on reason undercuts the reliability of reason. So where does this leave us? On the positive side, naturalism is simple, it aligns with science, and it avoids appealing to mystery. But on the negative side, it runs into serious challenges when it comes to explaining the origin of the universe, the fine-tuning of physical laws, the reality of consciousness, the existence of moral truths, and our capacity for free and rational thought. Philosopher William Lane Craig, in this book, Philosophical Foundations for a Christian Worldview, argues that this points beyond naturalism to a transcendent mind or God. Naturalists reply, just give science time. Maybe one day physics or neuroscience will solve these puzzles. And that's the debate. Is naturalism a complete worldview, or is it missing something essential? Stephen Hawking once said, we are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star. But we can understand the universe, and that makes us something very special. Naturalism sees us as stardust, shaped by physics. But perhaps the very fact that we ask these questions hints at something more. Since Hawking's 2010 book, the conversation has shifted in some surprising ways. While naturalism once seemed unshakable, its grip has loosened a bit, especially as questions about consciousness refuse to go away. Some philosophers and neuroscientists now admit that a purely physical account may not capture the full picture of subjective experience. At the same time, there's been a renewed interest in substance dualism, not just in theology, but in serious academic philosophy, as people revisit the idea that mind and matter might be two distinct types of reality. In other words, the debate hasn't ended. If anything, it's deepened. Thinkers like Thomas Nagel in his book, What's It Like to Be a Bat, and David Chalmers in his book, The Conscious Mind, have argued that materialism doesn't fully capture what it's like to be conscious. Meanwhile, developments in artificial intelligence have raised the stakes. If machines can mimic intelligence, does that mean consciousness is purely material? Or does it highlight the mystery even more? In short, naturalism has more data, but dualism still presses the hardest question. Why does matter think? So there it is, Hawking's insights and the limits of philosophical naturalism. From the universe to the consciousness, morality, and reason, some questions just don't have easy answers. The fact that we can even ask these questions, that we can think, reason, wonder, is what makes us special. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to A Few True Things for more explorations of life's biggest questions. And let me know what you think in the comments. Where do you think naturalism succeeds, and where does it fall short?